The girls are going to sit in the front row. Okay.
Whoops. That's what I said. It takes us over. Work? Shabbat Shalom. Testing 1, 2, 12. 3, 4, 5.
Good number. Right now.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. There's no extra charge if you come inside. Michael. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Thank you all for being here this evening. I'm Rabbi Shook. In case we haven't met before, I am filling in for Rabbis Fader and Alper, who are on their sabbatical the month of July. So I get to take over the temple, and I get to run this place. No, I don't. But it's a fantasy I never had. But it's glad that I get to do this because then I get a chance to hear new music, sing with Rob, and every once in a while read a sermon, which has been kind of fun this month, and we'll talk about it a little later. Fun only in the sense that it's very rare that I get an opportunity to write on a topic that turns out to be cut right from the headlines of the daily papers. And every single day this week even has had something of material that's relevant to the topic that I'll be discussing during the month of July. So I hope you'll find it interesting and informative, and I think I can almost promise you that you will not be mad at me. Maybe I'm not doing my job. Maybe that's what I'm supposed to do. Let's start with a Hine Matov, and then we'll go from there.
Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, 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 shevet achim gam yachad.
So we'll begin with the blessing of the Shabbat candles, and tonight I discovered, much by accident, we have the perfect couple. Karen and Brent Kamensky are the perfect couple to bless the candles and the kiddush and the motzi, the bread, because one is allergic to grapes and the other one's allergic to bread. Neither of them are allergic to fire, so we'll get the candles lit and then you'll see who takes what, and so we don't have any accidents and no one gets unwell on the pulpit. We start on page 3, and there's a reading at the top of page 3. Let's do it all together, if you don't mind. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. I think you know how to do this thing. Push it forward. It's an electric spark thing. That's it. Excellent. Well, I think, Brent, you have to do this one, so you raise the cup. All right. Okay? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. You can drink it. It's grape juice. Yeah. Chateau Lafite Welch's. I'm sorry. That's okay. That's okay. And now if you just hold up the bread, we'll do the Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Now, Karen, you can take a piece. Wonderful. Shabbat shalom, guys. Thank you very much. Many years ago, I went to an interfaith dinner, and we sat next to the honoree that night, a professor at Eden Seminary, and he and his wife were about to engage in dessert, and it was chocolate cake with chocolate icing. And I watched a little drama play out. The professor took the top of the icing off and put it on his plate and passed the cake to his wife. I thought it was the perfect match of husband and wife. They each knew what the other one wanted, and they provided it for each other. Couldn't be better than that. Our service continues now with Baruch Hu. I'm sorry. I thought we were going to have a song in between, but we're not, and there's a reason for that. So let's go to the Baruch Hu, and if you please rise for the call to worship. Page 28.
Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, 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 lai. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach. HaMevorach le'olam ba'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach le'olam ba'ed.
Page 30. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzevaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Continuing on page 34 with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Ba'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Please be seated. And we continue with the V'ahavta on page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'eleh asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochtecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'od al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kiroshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים, אני אדוני אלוהיכם. We turn now to page 40 for Mi Chamocha.
Yai la lai 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 lai, yai la lai 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 lai, yai la lai 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 lai, yai la lai 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 lai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nadav hakodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nadav hakodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef eleh, Adonai imloch leolam va'ed. Ya la lai, ya la lai 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 lai.
On page 42, Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We continue now with Tefillah, beginning on page 46 as we stand.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imavot, U'mei Geulah Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Hozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham V'Ezrat Sarah.
Atah Gibor Leolam Adonai,
Mechaye Hakol atah Rab Leoshia, Mechaye Chaim B'Chesed, Mechaye Hakol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofech Olim, Umatir Asurim,
ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממיץ ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who strive to be holy every day, blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Shalom Rav. Page 60 for Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol et ubechol sha'ah bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We're at that time in our service when we offer a prayer of healing for those in need of a healing prayer, those in need of healing in body and mind. And so as we come around the room this way, if you have the name of someone you would like to include in the healing list today, please feel free to shout it out to us. And to those names, we add the following names: Arlene Alper, Eric Ash, Moshe Aharon ben Leah Bela, Chana bat Rochelle Reza HaKohen, Carl Greenberg, Nathan Levinson, Joanne Levy, Kalanit Meira bat Sarah, Drew Patchen, Ed Pepper, Jim Schlitter, Lisi Weinstein, David Wool, together with those whom we name in our hearts as we recite Misha Berach on page 253.
Misha Berach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. שברך אמותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. יהיו לרצון אמרי-פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי-פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. יהיו לרצון אמרי-פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. יהיו לרצון אמרי-פי, והגיון ליבי לפניך. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי. אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי, אדוני צורי וגואלי.
I'm a firm believer in beshert. Beshert is a Yiddish Hebrew concept, which means, simply put, it was meant to be. When things happen, and they happen one right after the other, or if it happens at the right time in the right place, we might say it was beshert. If two people meet on the street and they fall in love, we might say that that meeting was beshert. It was meant to be. I wouldn't go so far as making that claim for this message for tonight, but it was beshert anyway. Aaron May, in the month of March, Aaron May is the editor of our temple Dateline. And she sent me an email and she said, Rabbi, I'm doing the work for the July services. It was in March, for crying out loud. I'm doing the outline for the July services and I want to know what you're going to talk about in July. So I started thinking, the first Friday in July is July 5th, the day after the 4th. I know that makes a lot of sense. Let's have a patriotic theme. How about a constitutional theme? After an agonizing 22 seconds of concentrated thought, I arrived at the totally non-controversial topic of the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. Where's the controversy? Who knew that by July would be mired in the muck of a wrestling contest, a mud wrestling contest over whether this country is a Christian country? You see, it was Beshert. Now, accepting these 4 Shabbatot, these 4 Sabbaths, as meant to be, and resigning myself to my fate, I shall bring you along with me on a deep dive into the unholy bonds of religion and politics. Let's start with the ancient text. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's all it says. That's not the whole First Amendment, but that is the religious clause, the religion clause of the First Amendment. Congress will make no law. How did we get there? The origins of the religion clause of the First Amendment can be traced all the way back to the 25th day of the Hebrew month of Kislev in the year 165 before the Common Era. Yeah, I said that right. The First Amendment to the Constitution has its origins back in the festival of Hanukkah. You see, in those days, Antiochus IV, who modestly styled himself as Epiphanes, God is manifest, decided that he would unite religion and government in his realm so that everyone would worship the same God, him. And there was a group, a family of brothers, and a patriarch of the family, Judas Mattathias Maccabeus, and his sons, and they decided that it was not a good idea to unite worship and politics. And the rest is latkes and dreidels, so we don't need to go too deep into this story. But the human impulse of faith and government being put to the top of the list of our constitutional amendments comes as a preventative to that impulse for someone to declare themselves king and also the leader of the religious community, the faith community of those that are governed. Now, moving right along from Hanukkah in the year 165 before the Common Era, we fast forward to the year 325 of our era, and from 325, the time of the Nicene Council of the Roman Catholic Church, from that date, the date was sometime in May of that year, until October of 1517, you do the math and figure out how many hundreds of years it is. For all that time, Europe had only one religion. And they didn't have to style it any other way but calling it Christian. There was only one form of Christianity. But in 1517, Martin Luther, in an act of protest against his church, published on the doors of the cathedral his 95 propositions, his 95 theses as to what had to change in the church. The fallout from that act of Martin Luther was the Protestant Reformation. And beginning with the Protestant Reformation, at that moment, Europe ceased to be Christian. It became Protestant or Catholic. And that wasn't the end of it. Because once the dam had broken, once the unity of the church had been shattered by Martin Luther, along came dozens of leaders in the Christian community who had in their minds a better idea, a better way of moving forward in the religion of the territory. And by the time he was done, the Roman Catholic Church was no longer the sole source of truth. Now, when that happened, we had Methodists, Presbyterians, Huguenots, Calvinists, Wesleyans. We had dozens and dozens of denominations all calling themselves Christian. It's at that moment that the church has to distinguish itself. We are the Roman Catholic Church. Catholic meaning universal. And our allegiance is to the Pope in Rome. All of these denominations believed that their denomination was the denomination that should rule the place where they lived. Christians took up arms against their fellow and equally devout Christians. In the name of Jesus, these Christians slaughtered one another. They slaughtered one another with abandon. If they turned the other cheek to their fellow Christians, they were likely to get a knife in the throat. Burning with religious fervor, these Christians managed to burn each other's villages. And then, not satisfied with burning the villages down to the ground, they burned each other's villagers, the people in the villages, to cinders. And all in the name of Christ. Each provocation by one community of Christians was met by greater levels of atrocity by the other. Nearly every European state and principality was in perpetual condition of war. The battles fought as a result of the Reformation were too numerous to count. So when you look it up, you'll see that the wars begun by the Reformation spanned the 16th century, the 17th century, and most of the 18th century, until Europe was absolutely and completely exhausted from all these wars. Religious enemies lurked everywhere. Oh yeah. And on occasion, Jews were blamed for the violence. But the charges were absurd. Jews mustered no armies. They were too busy running for their lives from all of these fervent Christians. As the fires burnt out, as the dust of war settled, Europe was exhausted. It was also irretrievably divided. Where once there was the church united and strong, now there were Protestants, Calvinists, Puritans, Anabaptists, Methodists, Presbyterians, Huguenots, Mennonites, Quakers, and so many more. Each of these denominations sought shelter with a prince who would favor their religious denomination. Princes declared themselves and their realms either Protestant or Catholic. Refugees from the wars of Christian faith were forced to migrate to states and principalities protected by rulers who once shared their particular brand of religious faith. Not every denomination could find a noble protector, one who practiced the brand of Christianity that they wanted to practice. Some had to compromise with each other in order to avoid more bloodshed. So in some instances, taxes were raised from the entire community, but were only spent to further the causes of the local prince's chosen faith. He taxed everybody, took the money, and built better churches for his community. A few principalities tried to stucco over the denominational differences. We are all Christians, after all. And so they created a proportional taxation based on the population of Christians in a community. If you had 30% of the total voting community and you were Protestant, then the Protestants got 30% of the tax money. If you were 80% or 70%, you got the rest of it. And it depended on your denomination. That was called an establishment of religion. The prince is the one who established the religion. He determined which religion would be practiced in his realm. And he also determined which religions would be, and here's a phrase I love to use, which religions would be tolerated. Who would be tolerated within the realm? Who would be allowed to live, even though we're not happy about it, we would tolerate them as long as they paid their taxes. Now, the ones that had proportional taxation, they thought they had solved the problem until their courts started getting clogged with claims of unjustly apportioned taxation. And claim followed claim followed claim. Does any of this sound vaguely familiar about legal cases and taxation and proportional representation? The colonization of the New World brought the religious wars of Europe to these shores. France, England, Spain, and the Netherlands were the most seafaring powers. Each of their colonies carried the official stamp of a religious identity. Royal charters declared in the text of the charters itself what religion would be observed by the colony. One colony, Maryland, was decidedly Catholic. Other colonies were following the religion of their patron who had purchased or acquired the charter on their behalf. Royal charters declared what the established religion of that colony would be in perpetuity. 248 years ago yesterday, by 1776, when 13 colonies declared their independence from Britain, they all adhered to the faith of their charter. They were faithful to their charter. And when they declared their independence, they created a dynamic dilemma for the entire Congress assembled. Because 13 colonies were not unified on their religion. And there were those within the 13 colonies who wanted no colony to have an established religion, a religion that would be declared the official religion of the colony. So when the Congress of the United States sits down to carve out the first of its 10 amendments to the original Constitution, it puts number one, freedom of religion, or Congress will make no law establishing a religion. It puts it at the top of the list because they can't go any further. If they can't settle this question to the satisfaction of the 13 colonies, they will not have a nation. And the solution was to grant no colony, no state in this union, an official religion. Are you hearing me, those of you who declare the United States to be a Christian country? You can be Christian in the country, you can be Jewish in the country, you can be Hindu in the country, you can be Hindu in the city. But this is not a Christian country by design, because Europe had struggled through years, centuries of war, and they were tired of killing one another over the question of what religion should we be and what religion should we teach and what religion should we promote. It was a life-saving venture. It was a way of putting an end to war and violence and bloodshed and starting to concentrate on the things that mattered in religion, like faith and good deeds and kindness and compassion and honoring those who had less and helping those who needed more help. The values that these religions professed, but somehow were forgotten in the struggle to establish them as the religion of the colony. It was self-preservation. It was not being nice. It was not someone tolerating all of these religions. It was about doing something so we could move forward as a nation. If we had selected our religion, 4 or 5 of the colonies would never have joined the United States of America because they already had deep disputes within their own governments. And they couldn't resolve these disputes amicably. And it was enough to see what had been done in earlier centuries about government. I'm thinking of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, for example, and people dissenting from the religion of the colony and wishing to be Quakers and finding themselves being hanged in the hanged in the Boston Commons because they had violated the religious thoughts of the community. The First Amendment was a survival pact. How are we going to survive as a nation is by declaring none of these religions the official religion of the United States of America. And when someone starts to agitate and make a declaration, remind them, yes, Christians founded the country, but they did not found a Christian country. Had they done so, there would have been no country to found. Now, I imagine that some of you are wondering, how come I left out the Spanish Inquisition? That's our topic for next week. Gotcha. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We turn now to the Aleinu on page 280 something. Page 282. Please rise. Shabeach le'adon hakol, v'teit gedula liotzer v'reshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratzot, v'lo samanu k'mishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, v'goralenu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Our meditation before Kaddish is on page 289. In nature's ebb and flow, God's eternal law abides. When tears dim our vision or grief clouds our understanding, we often lose sight of God's eternal plan. Yet we know that growth and decay, life and death all reveal a divine purpose. God, who is our support in the struggles of life, is also our hope in death. We have set God before us and shall not despair. In God's hands are the souls of all the living and the spirits of all flesh. Under God's protection we abide, and by God's love are we comforted. O life of our life, soul of our soul, cause your light to shine into our hearts and fill our spirits with abiding trust in you. As we turn to words of Kaddish on page 294, we mention the names of those who have been taken recently from us and are now laid to their eternal rest. And our hearts go out to their families as we recall their names in love. Thelma Davidson, Henry Deutsch, Rita Fried, Geraldine Kessler, Donald Levy, Vida Sister Prince, Richard Singer. And in love and respect, we mention the names of those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose passing, occur on this Shabbat, and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the wall of honor for perpetual memorial. Marie Allen, Arthur B. Bayer, Sarah Kessler-Berg, Max Bernstein, William Biederman, Elizabeth Richmond Bree, Meyer Mike Cohen, Ethel Goldstein Dubinsky, Alice M. Ehrlich, William D. Arendt, Alexander H. Finn, Shirley Feiner, Rose Friedman, Alfred Friedman, Audrey Friedman, Paul Friedman, Aaron Fuller, Minnie Gelber, Albert J. Ginsberg, Louis Glassman, Jenny Goldman, Meyer Greenblatt, Bessie Greenfield, Rose Meyer Grossman, Irving E. Gussman, Tilford Hirsch, John Hoffbeck, Deborah Jacobs, Sarah T. Kaiser, Sylvia Tsinberg Karsh, Harry Koppler, Maurice B. Lasky, Cecil B. Lears, Elizabeth Ruth Levy, Hattie B. Levy, Janet Pervin Mange, Ella S. Mayer, Nettie Loeb Mayer, Rose Hyman Mendel, Louis Samuel Miller, Julius M. Newman, Frederick Nussbaum, Sam Pinzer, Elsie Koppler Probstein, Faye E. Raisman, Saul P. Rosenblum, Rita Rosenblum, Eva Saltzman, Harry Saltzman, Harry Sandler, Emma Wolf Shield, Jeanette N. Schuline, Cecile Cohn Sharp, Marcelin Marcy Silverstein, Jack Sline, Gertie Strauss, Maurice Wenneker, Hyman Weiss, David Samuel Wise, together whom we name in our hearts as we recite words of Kaddish together. Yitgadal, Yitkadash, Shmei Rabbah. Bialma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chaye echon v'yom echon. U'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala v'zman kari v'imru. Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam milalmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpo'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekudsha barichu. Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiran b'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru. Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And we say together, Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru. Amen.
Our closing hymn is Shir Adonai. Sing unto God a new song.
Shiru Adonai kol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. Shiru Adonai. Shiru Adonai. Shiru Shiru Adonai. Sing unto God all the earth a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God and we'll all sing along. All the earth a new song unto God. Shiru Adonai ol haaretz. Shiru Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.